My husband's mistress sent me a video of their vacation, saying, he's happy without you. I smiled and replied, good for him. But he's broke now. Her face dropped when she realized I'd drained every account he had. I was sitting at the kitchen table, scrolling through my phone, when a message popped up from an unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something made me check. It was a video. I clicked play. A bright blue ocean. White sand. A luxury resort. Then the camera panned to him, my husband, Ryan. Shirtless. Laughing. Holding a drink. His arm wrapped around a woman half my age. The video ended, and a message followed. He's happy without you. I stared at my screen. And then, I laughed. Because while she was busy gloating, she had no idea that Ryan was already a dead man walking. Financially, at least. I typed back, good for him. But he's broke now. The typing bubbles appeared. Then stopped. Then appeared again. She had no idea what I had done. But she was about to find out. Ryan and I had been married for 15 years. I supported him through every struggle, every failed business, every stupid idea he had. I worked. I planned. I handled everything. And in return? He cheated. It started small. Late nights. Business trips that didn't add up. His phone always face down on the table. Then came the credit card charges. Expensive restaurants. Jewelry I never got. Hotel bookings in places I'd never been. I asked him about it. Oh, that's for a client. It's business expenses. You're imagining things. But I wasn't stupid. So I hired a private investigator. It took less than 2 weeks to confirm what I already knew. Ryan was cheating. Not just a fling. Not a one-time mistake. A full-blown second relationship. The woman? Sophie. Mid-20s. Blonde. Fake tan. The kind of girl who thought she hit the jackpot by stealing another woman's husband. I wasn't even angry. I was planning. Because if Ryan wanted a new life, I was going to make sure he started it with nothing. Ryan thought he was smart. But he had one fatal flaw: he was lazy. He never handled our finances. He was too busy. So, he let me do it. His paycheck? Went into our joint account. The house? In my name. The business? I had majority shares. The savings? I controlled every account. Retirement? Also in my name. Ryan was living in my world. And he didn't even realize it. So, the moment I confirmed the affair, I started moving money. Quietly. Carefully. Legally. By the time he packed his bags to go on this little romantic vacation with Sophie, his accounts were already empty. When Sophie got my text, she called me immediately. I let it ring. Then ignored the second call. And the third. Then I answered. She was furious. What did you do? I smiled. Oh, sweetheart. You didn't know? Ryan doesn't have a cent to his name. Silence. Then she sputtered, that's not possible. He paid for this trip. Did he? I asked. Or did he use a credit card? Another pause. Then, realization hit. Ryan had maxed out his cards. I could hear the panic in her breathing. Resorts don't like unpaid bills. Neither do airlines. Sophie was trapped with him. And she wasn't happy anymore. 2 days later, Ryan came home. Disheveled. Sweaty. Panicked. He stormed into the house, my house. What did you do? He yelled. I sipped my wine. I made sure you got what you deserved. He was breathing hard, face red. You ruined me. I leaned forward. No, Ryan. You ruined yourself. I just made sure you had to face it. His eyes darted to the kitchen counter. There, neatly stacked, were the divorce papers. His hands clenched. You can't do this. I tilted my head. I already did. And that's when I saw it. The moment he realized he had lost everything. Ryan stood there, his breathing heavy, his hands clenched into fists. He was looking at the divorce papers like they were a bomb about to go off. His voice shook. Where's the money? I leaned back in my chair, swirling the last of my wine in my glass. Gone. His face twisted in rage. What do you mean gone? I sighed. Ryan, you should have paid more attention. I controlled everything. The accounts, the house, the business. And now? You have nothing. His eyes darted around the kitchen like the money was going to materialize out of thin air. You can't do this. That money was mine. I raised an eyebrow. Yours? You didn't even know which bank we used. I could see his mind racing, trying to find a way out. But there wasn't one. That's when his phone rang. He glanced at the screen, and for the first time, I saw panic. Sophie. I smirked. Might want to answer that. I have a feeling she's not enjoying being with a broke man. Ryan swallowed hard but ignored the call. Then, a loud knock at the door. I didn't move. Neither did Ryan. The knocking came again, louder this time. Ryan hesitated, then walked to the door. He opened it just a crack, but I heard her voice. Sophie. And she was furious. You lied to me. Sophie's voice rang through the house as she shoved past Ryan and stormed inside. Her perfect blonde hair was a mess. Her tan was splotchy, like she'd been crying. And her designer bag? Missing. I raised an eyebrow. Tough trip? She whirled on me. You did this. I gave her an innocent look. Did what? Ryan's finances? Oh no, he did that to himself. She turned back to Ryan, shoving him hard in the chest. You told me you had money. You said we'd be fine. But the hotel locked us out of our room, and your credit card declined at the airport. I had to call my dad to get home. Ryan barely reacted. He just stood there, his face pale, staring at the floor. Sophie wasn't done. You're a fraud. You're a liar. I left everything for you. I snorted. Everything? What, your barista job and Instagram followers? She shot me a glare. You think this is funny? I tilted my head. A little. She turned back to Ryan. Fix this. Get the money back. And that's when Ryan snapped. Ryan's face twisted with anger. Shut up, Sophie. Just shut up. Sophie stepped back, shocked. Excuse me? You think this is about you? He pointed at me. SHE did this. She ruined my life. I stood up slowly. No, Ryan. You ruined your life. I just made sure you had to live with it. He was shaking with rage now. His hands clenched at his sides. You had no right. I sighed. Ryan, you cheated. You lied. You spent our money on her. And now? You want sympathy? His nostrils flared. And then, he lunged. I had seen the look in his eyes before. I knew his temper. So, I was prepared. Before his hand could even come near me, I took a step back and smack. A loud, echoing slap. Not from me. From Sophie. Ryan froze, blinking in shock. Did you just, you're a pathetic excuse for a man, Sophie hissed? I should have known better. Then she turned to me. I hope you take everything from him. I smiled. Already did. And with that, Sophie stormed out. Ryan stood there, breathing hard. His face red from rage and embarrassment. That's it? I asked. First, you cheat. Then you lose all your money. And now, even your little side piece doesn't want you? His hands clenched again, but I didn't flinch. I knew what came next. Ryan begged. That same night, after Sophie left, after he realized he had nothing, he tried a different approach. I'm sorry, he said. I didn't respond. I messed up, he continued. But we can fix this. I looked up. We? He nodded desperately. Yeah. You and me. We've been together so long. I made a mistake, but we can start over. I know you still care about me. I stared at him for a long moment. Then, I laughed. Loud. Hard. From deep in my stomach. Ryan's face twisted. Why are you laughing? I wiped a tear from my eye. Because, Ryan, I don't care about you. Not anymore. His jaw clenched. I gave you everything. That made me laugh harder. You gave me nothing, I said. And now, you have nothing. I picked up the divorce papers and slid them across the table. Sign them, I said. Or I'll take even more. Ryan swallowed hard. He knew I wasn't bluffing. And that's when I saw it, defeat. He picked up the pen. His hand shook as he signed his name. And just like that, he was out of my life. But the best part? I wasn't finished yet. Ryan's hand shook as he signed his name at the bottom of the divorce papers. For the first time in his life, he truly understood loss. No money. No mistress. No home. No control. He thought this was the end. But I wasn't finished. Not even close. A week later, I got a call from my lawyer. Good news, she said. Everything's finalized. The assets are yours, and Ryan's legally removed from everything. Perfect, I said. She hesitated. Oh, and one more thing. Has Ryan mentioned the loans? I frowned. What loans? There was a pause. Then she sighed. I was afraid of this. Turns out, my brilliant husband had been taking out loans in both our names. Huge ones. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. And guess what? He was using them to fund his new life with Sophie. Luxury hotels. Jewelry. Private dinners. A down payment on a condo. And since we were still legally married at the time, guess who was technically on the hook for them? Me. I was furious. But I wasn't going to let this slide. Ryan thought he was done. He thought he had lost everything. He had no idea what was coming next. I sat down with my lawyer and we worked out a plan. First, I gathered every document, every piece of proof. Then, I made a few phone calls. And just like that, Ryan's life went from bad to so much worse. Because not only was he broke, he was now drowning in debt. It took about a month for reality to hit him. The first sign? Debt collectors. Ryan called me, his voice shaking. What did you do? I played innocent. What do you mean? They're saying I owe them money. Hundreds of thousands. You have to fix this. I smiled. Oh, Ryan. I don't have to do anything. But you were on the accounts. Was I? I asked. Because I made sure my name was legally removed from everything. You took those loans out for yourself. Silence. Then, I'm going to jail. I shrugged. Maybe. Ryan screamed. Full, rage-filled, panicked screaming. But there was nothing he could do. Because the evidence was clear. I had already handed over every document to the authorities. Fraud. Misuse of funds. Failure to disclose assets. And in a matter of weeks, Ryan was arrested. The last time I saw Ryan, he was sitting in a courtroom. Hair unkempt. Eyes sunken. He looked nothing like the man I used to know. The judge didn't go easy on him. The fraud? The unpaid debts? The years of deception? They all caught up with him. The final ruling? 5 years. Prison. No money. No Sophie. No freedom. He was completely destroyed. And me? I walked out of that courthouse a free woman. Richer. Smarter. And finally, at peace. Ryan had spent years lying, cheating, and taking everything from me. So, I took everything from him. And I never looked back. Ryan went to prison. He didn't even try to fight it. He couldn't. The evidence was too strong. He had forged documents, hidden money, and taken loans in both our names. The judge saw right through him. 5 years. No parole. When they let him out in handcuffs, he looked at me, his eyes full of rage and desperation. Please, he whispered. Don't let them do this. I tilted my head and smiled. You did this to yourself. Then I turned and walked out of the courtroom. And just like that, Ryan was gone. See, sending him to prison wasn't enough. He still had one last thing with his name on it. His precious car. That sleek black BMW he loved more than me. The car he spent more time waxing than he did talking to me. It was still in his name, sitting in the driveway of his rented apartment. And it was about to disappear. I sold it. Not for money. No, I didn't need the money. I sold it for $1. To his worst enemy. A guy named Mark. Mark was Ryan's ex-business partner. The one Ryan had screwed over years ago. The guy Ryan hated. When I called Mark and offered him the BMW for $1, he laughed so hard he almost cried. Are you serious? Mark asked. $1, I repeated. All yours. Mark showed up the next day. Signed the paperwork. Took the keys. Then he sent me a picture a week later. He had stripped the car for parts and sold them. Ryan's precious car? Gone. Just like him. I didn't hear from Sophie for months. Until one day, out of nowhere, she sent me a message. It was long. Dramatic. Full of fake apologies. She wrote, "I didn't know he was lying. I thought he really loved me. I never meant to hurt you. I just want to start over. Can we talk?" I stared at my phone for a moment. Then I replied. "Who is this?" Blocked. Let her deal with the mess she helped create. I sold the house. Bought a new one. Bigger. Better. Right by the ocean, exactly where I always wanted to live. I took a long vacation. I spent his stolen money on myself. I lived. I healed. And one day, while sipping wine on my balcony, I got an update. Ryan. He got out of prison. Broke. Homeless. Nobody wanted him. No job. No friends. No money. He tried calling me. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Because I had already won. And I never looked back.